It's another episode of the Brett Allen Show. Today we are talking season 2 of Kevin Kneff himself with the star himself, Eric Petersen. This new season has just started, and it has just been a thrill ride from what I have seen so far. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Brett. I'm happy to talk with you and talk about the show. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is great. I know everybody has been waiting for season 2 for a while. And this show that you all have created is, I would say, genre bending because it's not like anything that's been on television before. And I know when the first season came out, people were likening it to like the King of Queens, but a very dark version. It's basically, single camera versus multi-camera, and the two worlds kind of blend. How does it feel now to have this out and for people to watch?
It feels great. The first season was really well received, and we were really happy about it because, like you said, it is a genre bending show. It's the sort of rarity in Hollywood that it's an actually original idea. It's obviously commenting and taking inspiration from forms before it, but no one has ever really done a show like this.
Right.
So that was really exciting to be a part of. And I'm really happy with the way that the first season turned out, and the second season is sort of rolling out right now, and people are really liking it. And I think that our show I think it's a smart show. I think it has a lot to say. I think it has a point of view, which is really important in television. And yeah, we're really proud of it, and I'm happy that people are getting to see season 2 now.
Yeah, it is. It is a very important show, and you do tackle a lot of different things. A lot of tropes maybe that might exist in this world that you're a part of. But really, I think the initial overarching thing was to sort of proposing the idea, what if a sitcom actually, I guess you could say, took place in real life.
Yeah.
But then like the characters, your character in particular, had to deal with consequences for some of the things that they said and did. And you guys have sort of explored that and other ideas. When the idea was being tossed around for a second season, as a cast and as the lead, the series lead, did you get to have any sort of input on this? And sort of, did they ask you, hey, where do you see your character going? Or is it all kind of decided for you by the powers that be?
I would say it's mostly decided by the brilliant writers' room. There's definitely like when you're shooting the first season, when you're like between takes, you're like chatting up the show creators, and they definitely sometimes will drop little breadcrumbs of like, oh, I think this might happen, and we might be doing this. And that would be a time, I suppose, if you were like, oh, I really don't like that storyline, or I really don't like this. But really, your job as an actor is less in the creative, script writing and more to interpret what's given to you. But I do think that, we were all really excited. And Valerie, who is the show creator, Valerie Armstrong, and showrunner, and her and Craig DeGreggio, who was our other showrunner, they really were they were part of everything, obviously, as showrunners, but like we really spent a lot of time with them. And so I know that they definitely wrote to our strengths, I think, for the second season.
Yeah, I would say that would be true. And I think when the powers that be, so to speak, are creating shows like this, I think, most of them are at least familiar with you as an actor and sort of know your range or what you could possibly do. And then they just create. I've heard it said multiple times by lots of actors, shows are as good as the writers are, right? I mean, you could have 100%. Super amazing, talented people, and the writing could suck. I hate to say that,
but it's so true. It's absolutely true. I think I saw a quote from Leonardo DiCaprio the other day that was talking about movies, but the same idea that like you can have a great director, you can have great actors, you can have a great cinematographer, but if the script is crap, you just can't overcome that. Like it just is, that is the meat of the whole thing. Everything else is sort of dressing around the story. So you need a strong story. And luckily we've been, blessed to have a very smart and intelligent, forward-thinking writers' room working for us.
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland said the same thing, because when this guy gets interviewed, the first thing, or one of the things that people ask him is, are you going to do another season of 24? And he always says, it's only as good as the writing. If the
Yeah.
writing's not very good, sure, we could pump out another 2 or 3 seasons of the
Right.
show. And that was very clear when they tried to bring it back, and it just was not that great because the writing was not very good. But this
Right.
show is just so smartly written, and I think that's why people love it. Is especially in a time now where there's so much content for people to choose from, and they've chosen to watch this.
Yeah, you're totally right that we are in a, I don't know if it's not the golden age, but maybe in regards to streaming, it would be considered the golden age of streaming. It is, there's just so much content out there. And even like myself and friends of mine who are in the industry, and it's like sort of our job to watch things and be aware of all the new shows. And as an actor, you kind of want to be ready to jump into, whatever show comes calling. So you sort of stay in the know with everything that's going on. And even people like myself that are doing that still every day are like, wait, what's that show? Oh, okay. That sounds really cool. Let me add that to the list. And we just have this like growing list of shows to watch. So whenever people find us, on AMC or through the AMC Plus app, which allows you to watch an episode a week ahead of time if you're huge Kevin Knepp himself fans.
Yes.
Whenever people find us, they seemingly are like, whoa, this show is so cool and so original. And that seems to be the main comment that I get from people, especially if they didn't know me or if they just sort of came upon it, is that they were truly shocked by what it was and how it was doing what it was doing and what the show was saying.
Yeah, yeah. Now you've spent a lot of time on Broadway too, in theater and performing, and a lot of people might not know that you've done a few shows, 3 or 4, maybe 5, I think. Are you? Do you ever have that interest in going back to that part of your career and doing that? I mean, they're two very different skill sets,
They
but
are. I do. I assume that I will at some point in my life go back and do more Broadway shows. It was how I came up. I came up as a theater actor. My first, 10 years of my career were in the theater and doing musicals, Broadway. So it is my sort of oldest, truest love in regards to my career. But I'll tell you, as when I was growing up, all I really wanted to be was on a sitcom. So like this show is sort of a dream come true in getting to like not only be on a sitcom, but also be on a show that's saying something about the sitcoms. But yeah, I love theater. I love the live audience aspect of theater cannot be over complimented. It just is. It just is an immediate reaction, especially for somebody who does a lot of comedy. Doing comedy in a void where like the camera guys are told don't laugh. Obviously, just like let them do the stuff and be quiet and still. It's weird. It's weird to do comedy in that setting, which is why it's kind of fun on Kevin because we had these we had a mini live studio audience. So basically, when the show was originally pitched, the idea was that we would have a full studio audience, but that was a few months before the pandemic, and so then that idea obviously got thrown away. But we did bring in the first season and the second season a group of, we just called them the Laughers, and they were like 12 to 15 local Boston people who were paid to come and sit in a room that was sort of like not directly across from us, but in the same soundstage. And they all had on their masks and they were, separated by 6 feet, but they were watching our performance. They had a live feed. And we could physically hear them and they were sort of pumped through the sound system. But being able to have that instant reaction was really helpful just in regards to timing. And when you're doing a multicam, it is its own sort of art form that you have to, say a joke, but you can't like just freeze. You have to kind of just like fill the moment as the laughter comes, and then you got to ride that wave. And right as it's about it to crash, then you can come in with the next joke. And having theater training really sort of helps you with that.
Yeah, and having seen actual live television tapings in Studio City, it's a very interesting experience to watch a sitcom get taped. I was at one, and they were actually rewriting jokes on the fly because they weren't landing like they thought they would. But there was always one person laughing, and you were like, well, that's obviously the person who wrote the joke and thinks it's funny. Um,
I will say this: because I've done a lot of multicam even before Kevin. That's actually my favorite part of doing multicam
yeah,
is the tape nights when it would just be electric. And there's,
yeah,
for people who don't know, essentially on a traditional multicam sitcom like Cheers, Seinfeld, Friends, anything like that, you would do rehearsals all through the week, and then Friday night usually, or sometimes it was rotating, but essentially Friday night was tape night. And you would have pre-taped maybe 3 or 4 scenes that just get shown to the audience, but everything else is done chronologically as it would appear in the show. And you're on the set. There's a crowd of maybe 200 people. There's a hype guy who's like telling jokes and juggling and asking people where they're
yeah.
from, and like they're serving pizza and they're playing music between each take. And the hair and makeup people are rushing in to give you touch-ups. But my favorite part was when the writers would come in with a new joke. And I was convinced, I don't know that this is true, but I suspect this is true, that sometimes sitcom writers, multicam writers, will have the best joke in their pocket, right?
Yeah.
And they'll let us rehearse a mediocre joke all week. So because you can't help but by doing a joke 4, 5, 6, 7 times, it does lose a little bit of its spontaneity. And so I think that the great sitcom writers, they keep the great joke in their pocket until tape night. You do 2 or 3 takes with the medium joke, and then they're like, oh, we got to rewrite. And they pretend that they just wrote it then. And they bring it in and they kind of read it to you while people are fixing your makeup. And you're like looking at the script. Okay, it's like 5, 6 lines. Okay, great. And they're like, ready? Okay, rolling, boom. And then you just do it. And there's like no rehearsal. You just like do it. And a lot of times that joke really kills because A, it's a better joke. And also when an audience has seen you do 2 or 3 takes of a joke that they're like, oh, that was funny. And then you come up over the top with something even funnier. It just kills them, which that's honestly one of my favorite parts of doing multicam.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. So if I understand correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. You're from Carroll Stream, Illinois.
Yes.
Spent a lot of time in Wheaton and Bensonville and that area.
Yes.
I spent a lot of time going to college there. How did you make the leap from Carroll Stream to? I'm sure there's a journey there, but like, how did it all start for you?
Yeah. Carroll Stream, for those of you who don't know, is a suburb of Chicago. It's about 30 minutes west of the city. So that's where I grew up, and I'm a very proud Chicagoland person. And I started doing theater in high school. I was always sort of a class clown, but high school is where I found the theater department, and I was like, oh, these are my people. This is my tribe. And I really liked it. But I did think that I was just going to be a cartoonist was my original dream
Okay.
until I was about a senior in high school. And because I had gotten the lead in enough high school shows, I started to think, well, maybe I'm actually decent at this. Maybe I should go to college for it. So then I went to Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois, little liberal arts school that I had a great time with, and studied just acting there, not musical theater, just like straight up acting. And then I went to work at a summer stock theater in Michigan. And my plan was to do that summer in Michigan and then move out to LA and try my hand at, trying to get on a sitcom. And that summer I met a girl and we started dating, and I thought she was pretty great. And I said, what are you doing at the end of the summer? And she was like, oh, I'm moving to New York. And I was like, that's crazy. I'm moving to New York too. And I totally changed my plan and chased that girl to New York. But it worked out because she's now my wife, and we have 2 kids, and we've been together for almost 20 years, and so it was the good call. But yeah, so we moved to New York and we lived there for about 10 years, and I just started doing theater, and eventually got my break on Broadway, did enough of that, and then I was playing Shrek in the national tour of Shrek the Musical, and it finished in LA, and so we just thought, I kind of said to my wife, I was like, maybe we just stay in LA at the end of the tour and see how it goes. Like, let's just give it 6 months, a year, and see if we like it and if I can find work. And I was lucky enough to sort of get some TV work relatively quickly after coming out here. And then we were like, all right, I think we're going to settle here. But even since then, we've moved our family back and forth between New York and LA, I think like 5 times that we've done a full move, like everything to New York, everything back to LA, everything back to New York. So we are bi-coastal in that way, but we're trying to settle here and just keep it going here in LA.
Shrek, that was great. You did so good in that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is great. Kevin Can F Himself, which is now available to watch on AMC Weekly and then AMC Plus, streaming the next day. And of course, if you have AMC Plus and you didn't cancel your subscription after Better Call Saul,
Right.
and we hope you didn't, be sure to watch this fantastic show on our guest Eric and this really great show. All the success to you, my friend, is all well deserved. And thank you so much for hanging out today.
Thanks, Brett. It was great talking with you.
Likewise.